Just waiting for, hi, Betsy, waiting for someone to join us. Can you guys hear me? Betsy, can you hear me? Hi, Tammy. We're just going to wait. I mean, Tammy and Betsy, we can sit and chat all night long, but we'll wait till some more people join us. I like this little pop-up, no planned live, though. It's a little more fun than planning it. We're just going to wing this thing tonight. Hey, Betsy, should we post on the other groups that we're live and they should come join us? You know what's really funny is looking at yourself on your phone while you're on your computer, but live. That's a new experience.
There it is.
Isn't that funny? Oh, I see more people. Hi, guys. I see there's 9 people in right now, but let us know you're here. Put a comment in. All right, there's 10. All right, we're going to get started because it is 8:32, and we said that we were going to do a surprise little pop-in video tonight, live video. For those of you I don't know, I am Jaime Barnhart. I am one of the board directors and actually one of the founders of Aortic Hope. My background is as a caregiver. My daughter and her father both have Marfan Syndrome, and we have been through multiple aortic dissections and aortic surgeries to prevent dissections over the last 17 years, both emergency and planned. And my story I have shared as a caregiver here at Aortic Hope several times, but I'm sure that you will hear it again. But today, it's really fun because you're not going to listen to me talk today. February is Marfan Awareness Month, and my family, like I said, has been affected by Marfan Syndrome, and my oldest child, Grace, has Marfan Syndrome and is on the teen council for the Marfan Foundation, and does a lot of work similar to what we do in Aortic Hope within the Marfan community. And she has an interesting perspective on aortic disease and management and life with an aortic situation, both as a Marfan teen who has a fairly healthy aorta, but has a potential for problems down the road, and as a caregiver and child of someone who has experienced aortic trauma multiple times. And so, without further ado, I introduce to you my teenage daughter, Grace.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace, and like my mom said, I have Marfan Syndrome, like my dad. Marfan Syndrome, I'm going to start with the basics of what it is and then go into my story. Marfan Syndrome is a genetic condition. It is lifetime, so I got it from my dad. We're not really sure where he got it from. It was just a mutation. So I got it from my dad, and it affects different people differently. So mine mainly affects, my aorta is pretty healthy for the most part. I take medicine to keep the size, normal. They found out when I was 4 that my aorta was enlarged, but not dangerously, so I just take medicine daily for that.
And now you're totally normal.
And now I'm totally normal, yeah. So I also struggle, I have eye issues, so about 4 years ago, I got eye surgery. I had both lenses in my eyes removed. And yeah, that was about 4 years ago. What? And so my eyes are a big thing, and pain, just pain management is very important in my life. In I believe it was 5th or 6th grade, I was diagnosed with costochondritis, which is related to Marfan's. It is a inflammation of the cartilage in your rib cage. So I'll get random inflammation in my ribs, and I get the pain in my ribs, my back. Sometimes it hurts to breathe in deep breaths. So it's pretty rough, but I take pain meds for that. There's not really anything you can do about costochondritis. It's just take pain meds, whatever helps you. So that's a big part, especially being a teenager, because when you're a teenager, your body is growing the most, and a lot in a small amount of time. So it affects you more as a teenager. So I in 6th grade, when I had my eye surgery, I remember one day I was laying on the couch, and it was really rough. It was a rough day. I was not feeling good. I was sore. It was just not fun. And I remember sitting on the couch and being like, well, this sucks. But some other kid or teen has this worse than I do. Some kid or teen is laying on the couch or laying in a hospital bed with some aortic issue or some other thing that's much worse than mine. And I said to my parents, I'm like, I want to help these kids. But I was only I was in 6th grade. So what could I do? So my parents were like, well, put a plan together. So I did a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Mom, you're being very distracting. So I did strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I did a full business plan with my mission statement, with my goals, with finance plans, with how I would what I was going to do. So it took a while. It took, I want to say 8 months to a year just to figure all that out. And so what I do is, the project is called Marfan Friends. And Marfan Friends is, it's great. So I started with this girl, Kira, and I sent her, so what I do is I send care packages to kids and teens in the hospital with Marfan's. And I'm starting to reach out to more other related conditions, like Ehlers-Danlos, Boyce-Dietz, stuff like that. And so I send out care packages with toys and candy and notes for the parents and the siblings and the kid themselves. And usually a notebook and pen so that they can write down how they're feeling. I also have a heart jar. So I don't have one with me, but I have my own. And it's literally just a heart-shaped mason jar. And then I got little heart-shaped beads, heart-shaped plastic beads. And they're colorful, and for every piece of good hospital news that a kid gets, they put a bead in the jar so that they can see their improvement when they're having a bad day, they can look at the jar and look at the improvement they've made. It can be big or small, but anything good. And so that's something special I do in those. And I am also a part of the teen council with the Marfan Foundation. And we help plan the events and the field trips, the activities, the workshops for the Marfan conference every year, the annual Marfan conference. This year it will be held in Boston, and I'm very excited. I speak over the past 3 years. I've spoken. I help run workshops. There's a workshop that I love helping with where it's like a panel of us. It's like 3 or 4 teens that sit in the front of the room, and parents come in, and you get to tell your story. And if they have a kid who's going to be a teen soon, they can ask questions about, how did your parents tell you that there's something you can't do, or how does it affect you, stuff like that. And it's a great learning opportunity for both the teens and the parents. So that's one of my favorite things. 2 years ago, the conference was held in California, and I got the Rising Star Award, which basically means you have to be a teenager in order to get it, but most people don't get it till they're like 18. And I was 14 at the time. Yeah, 14 at the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that was a really big deal. And then this past year, I went to the conference in Texas, and I got a volunteer recognition award. So that was really cool too. But Marfan syndrome, like I said, affects everyone differently. So I know some people that have lung issues. I don't have lung issues. I know people that are in much worse shape than I am, but everyone's story is different. And this week on Wednesday, I will be with the Marfan Foundation speaking at the U.S. Capitol. So I have about 7 to 8 meetings on Wednesday with congressmen and women and senators and people at the Capitol about what Marfan syndrome is and what we want changed in the Marfan community. So more funding for the National Health Institution, less out-of-pocket expenses, stuff like that. So I'll be speaking on Wednesday. So I'm very, very excited. And I did this last year, and it's a great opportunity. What else?
I'm talking about your experience with Aortic Hope.
Yes.
And how you saw it come to be.
Yes. So, I know what I was going to talk about. So my dad is a very big part of my Marfan story as well, because yes, I have Marfan syndrome, but I also am a caregiver of a Marfan patient with my dad. So I remember this last April, I was out of town with a friend of mine, and my dad had a dissection. It was scary. It was really scary. But, he got through it, and it was really scary, but it was a good learning experience for all of us. Yes. And it's something that you think about, and it's like, well, I have the same condition. And I was talking to my mom about this tonight. I was like, it could happen to me. Okay, here's the thing. They say Marfan syndrome is a life-threatening condition, which, yes, it is. But, like, walking across the street can be life-threatening. Like, there's a greater percentage, but it's not that great. You know what I mean? So I'm really thankful for the Marfan community as well, because conferences are amazing. They're about 3 to 4 days long, and you get to go to your own workshops that you're interested in. I love the teen program. The teen program is amazing, and you get to meet different people who have it.
Talk about connecting with people in the community.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty close with Austin Carlisle. If you guys have ever heard of him, he was a old rock star of Mice and Men. He was the lead singer, but got diagnosed with Marfan's once his mom passed away when he was a teen. And he's amazing, and he's one of the big supporters of Marfan Syndrome, and he's a very big part of it for awareness and spreading awareness and just reminding people that they're not alone in the fight. Also, Andy Erickson, I was actually messaging with her a few weeks ago. She got the same surgery that I had in 6th grade. She had hers a few months ago, and it's just, the community is so great. Like, we all have each other's backs, and you go to these conferences and there's 3 to 4 days long, and you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave those. But they're amazing. You get to learn so much. You get to meet new people who can relate to you. But it's different, like, than walking into school and telling someone your story and then going to conference where people understand you, and it's just it's amazing. And
Thanks for questions too.
Yeah, so I'll ask some questions. Can I comment the Marfan Friends website?
Yeah, we'll post it.
Okay. So at the end of this live, I will post the website to Marfan Friends. If you know someone who has Marfan Syndrome or a related condition, and they're in the hospital or getting ready to get surgery or something along those lines, you can fill out a survey, and you pick what you want in the friend pack, the care package, and I will send them to you. They'll probably be to you no matter, depends how far you are, but like usually 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell them how much is it to get a friend pack?
So
how much is it for you to send it?
So friend packs for you guys are free. So you fill out the survey and it's done.
So how do you get money to pay for it? So
I do take donations. So there is a donation link on the website. So on the website, it has a donation link. It has a survey form to get a friend pack, and it has my story. What is Marfan Syndrome? What is Marfan Friends? It has information about the foundation, all sorts of stuff. So that website has a lot of information about Marfan Friends. So yeah, donations are greatly appreciated, especially during Marfan Awareness Month.
Feel free to ask her any questions. Just type it in to the sidebar into the chat. And Grace is a pretty open book. She'll tell you just about anything. She's
Yes.
She's been through a lot with taking care of Dad during dissections and things like that. We're going through comments to see if there's any questions. Karen wants to know what you want to do after you graduate. Well, first step one would be to graduate. So what do you want to be when you grow up, Grace?
So when I grow up, I want to be a school social worker. So I want to work on more. I'd always wanted to be a counselor in a school, but I wanted to do more of the mental health awareness and, bullying prevention and stuff like that, that side of stuff. So a big part of this is Marfan Syndrome, and Marfan Syndrome, especially as a teen, does cause a lot of mental health issues.
It's weird, sorry.
Mom, what the heck? So it's very, it can be hard. I can be sitting at school and randomly get just pain. Just hello, pain. So that's definitely really stressful. And there's like I said, my dad has gone through a lot of medical things. I know. Hi, Dad. So my dad has gone through a lot of medical things, and my dad is in worse shape than I am. Love you, Dad. But I mean, you never know what can happen, you know what I mean? So there's always just a little bit of anxiety and like being scared, but you can't always be scared every day because you have this thing, because it's not going to go away. You know what I mean? Like being scared and stressed and being anxious about it, it won't make it go away. So, you know, mental health definitely plays a role in Marfan syndrome and really any, you know, chronic disease. So I want to be a social worker, school social worker. Yeah. Any other questions?
Any questions? Any comments? Any?
Dad laughed.
I think Dad laughed when I said first you have to graduate.
Oh. I do spread a lot of awareness at school. So this week I'm really close with the foundation, the Marfan Foundation. So they will send me stuff to pass out at school and all that. And like if they have different events, they'll send me the leftovers of the information packets and pamphlets and all that. So like this week or this month, as February Marfan Awareness Month, I had pamphlets with me with what is Marfan syndrome, what are the, you know, things that can happen, how can you point it out, ways to help, like stuff like along those lines. And I passed, I want to say 7 out last week. And I do a lot of live streams on my personal Instagram account to spread more awareness in the teen community. So like I did a live stream last week, and this girl from my school, actually a couple people from my school, had messaged me and were like, hey, can we meet at school so I can get more information? And the Marfan Foundation had talked about how I was doing the live stream, so they got people from their side to follow me and then watch the live stream and ask questions. And it's really good to spread awareness, because honestly, it could save a life. I'm looking for more. This is such a good point. I'm reading the comments.
Okay.
This is fun. I like this.
Let's see what other comments. Well, but I'm gonna like interview you and ask you questions.
Okay.
So, talking your experience with Aortic Hope and what Aortic Hope does, right? Connecting aortic dissection survivors and people living with aortic disease and caregivers and the families. So you saw Aortic Hope be born.
Yes.
A couple years ago, right?
Yes.
And then you saw, you know, Dad join the board of directors, and Greg and Betsy and Fifi and Meg and everybody, right? And you've seen this thing grow and explode the way it has. And so tell us how, you know, how you see kind of what Aortic Hope has done for Marfan, where that intersection is.
Something so I saw a post that Karen did a few days ago, maybe it was a week ago, I don't even know. But she did a post a little while ago, and it was, she had sent something, like it was like a heart to the foundation for one of their events, and that was really cool. And, you know, Marfan syndrome and aortic disease and Aortic Hope can connect a lot, because there is that connection. There is that, you know, one of the main things about Marfan syndrome is dissections, aneurysms, overgrown aortas, like all that crazy stuff. So Aortic Hope has been doing a great job of spreading the awareness, just like the foundation. And I think that
Creating communities.
Yeah, creating communities is really good because you have this group on Facebook where you can find people that understand, and that's really good. And even if you're a caregiver, it's really important. So, like, my mom is a caregiver.
So Sarah said, I am curious, how were you diagnosed? Did you know that your father had it already before you were diagnosed?
So
if you need me to answer.
I think I know, but you might have to stay here in case I get it wrong. So I know the answer to the second part. Yes, they did know that my dad had it before I was diagnosed. Sorry. So my dad was diagnosed at, I think, 3. He was 3 or 4. And I was 4. And they found I had an enlarged aorta, slightly enlarged aorta.
That was step 2, yeah.
What was step 1?
So we actually found it, we confirmed it during an eye exam when she was in kindergarten. Or a little before, it was before kindergarten. She always had this cute little quirk where she would point at things and look kind of under her eye and tilt her head while she pointed at things. So we hoped that she had a lazy eye like I did as a child, and took her to the eye doctor. And when the eye doctor was taking a significant amount of time to tell us what her vision was, we already knew. We were prepared, but I clearly remember the day that, so she came in, and the eye doctor, and she said, I'm going to have to tell you something. And she's using all these fluffy, flowery words, and we knew what she was going to say. And I remember saying to her, I need you to just say the words out loud, and then I need you to give me a moment, and I'm going to walk out of this room, and I'm going to be back in about 2 minutes, and I just need a moment. And she said, I think she may have Marfan syndrome. And I said, well, of course she does. Her father does. So you could have saved some time here. And I did. I walked out of the room. And about a minute later, walked in the room, and I said, okay, great. What's the plan? And they immediately wanted to do eye surgery, which we resisted until we knew that it was impacting her ability to function. I didn't want to do surgery just because it was easier for the eye doctor to write a prescription. It didn't seem like a good enough reason to wheel my child into an OR. And that time came in 5th grade. So right after the eye doctor's appointment, we went to Hopkins. We are lucky that we live an hour away from Johns Hopkins. We're doubly lucky that that Bill's doctors as a child are at Hopkins. His doctor was Victor McCusick of the McCusick Center of Genetics at Hopkins. And Dr. Dietz is Grace's doctor up at Hopkins, and Bill's doctor still at Hopkins. And so we're very lucky in that. And so we took her up to Hopkins, got the official diagnosis, and she's been doing great ever since.
Yep.
And got involved in the foundation so that she could meet other kids and see that while she has struggles and she is affected, and there are some things we have to say, no, you can't do that, it's too dangerous for you. That there are many, many, many Marfan teenagers who are struggling in very severe ways that Grace does not. That she is very lucky and blessed in her situation, and she sees that, and she's doing what she can to support her community. Just like we at Aortic Hope are doing what we can to support our community.
Yep.
How's that for a long answer?
Any other questions on there?
Oh, Dad has a question for you. I like that Dad and I are interviewing you here.
Oh, no.
What has been the most difficult part of educating people about Marfan syndrome?
Well, okay. So the weird looks that you get, like, I remember last year, this is like one of the first times I actually realized it, but last year at school, I remember there's this one kid who is in my my gym class, and I tried to spread awareness as much as possible. But this kid, he had like he looked like he had it. Like, if you would see him and you know what Marfan's is and you have it and you know like the symptoms, like it looked like he had it. the long fingers, the super long legs, the skinniness, like the long arms. I know he had glasses, and they were a little thicker, like about my prescription, I guess. So like higher prescription. When you would do warm-ups, like at gym class, he was in my warm-up line, and you could see he was in like pain. So I remember one day I got the courage to go up to him and be like, "Hey, have you ever heard of Marfan Syndrome?" Not, diagnosing him or anything, just a question. Have you ever heard of it? And he's like, "No." And he gave me such a weird look, and I started telling him a little bit about it, and then he just walked away, and I was like, okay. So it's just kind of like the weird looks that you get for it. But you have to remember, you might get weird looks for it, but it's important. What? You might save someone's life. Exactly. Like, you could save someone's life, because if they don't know that they have it, and I don't know, something goes wrong, and you want to get diagnosed as early as possible so that they can not treat you, but help you stay as stable as you can, as soon as possible. So I'm very lucky that, I take my medicine every day. I was diagnosed at a young age. And I'm very excited because tomorrow, my friend Grace, who I haven't seen in a year and a half, is coming, and we're going to, like I said, we're going to speak at the Capitol on Wednesday, and I'm so excited to see her, and it's going to be so much fun. So, The two Graces. The two Graces, yes. Any other questions on there, Mom?
No, let's give our hard one, guys.
Come on, I like questions.
Okay. I'm going to ask one.
Uh-oh.
Your role here that intersects with aortic hope, right, is one of a patient who has to watch their aorta and a caregiver. So you're both.
Yeah.
So 2-part question.
Okay.
One of the things that many of our community deals with, right, is stress and anxiety and fear, all of those things.
Yes.
When you go for that annual CAT scan to check out the aorta and see how it's doing, right?
Yes.
Even the caregivers, we get stressed, right? Waiting for that report to come back. Hoping that we hear status quo. Status quo is the best result ever, right? Mm-hmm. So can you just talk about how you, if you have any tips and tricks that help you when you have to go for those annual checkups to kind of manage what could be a really scary result?
Okay. So I'll start with the caregiver question about that.
Yeah. So both as a patient and as a caregiver, when Dad goes for his annual checkups and we're like, man, I hope that's still status quo.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start with the caregiver side of that because that's the first one that came onto my head. So for a while, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, it'll be fine. Like, it'll be good. I'm like, it's fine. But like, let's be real. Last April, my dad went to go get his checkup.
Annual surgeon checkup for his aorta. And got, everything looked great. Go home. And on his way home, the dude has a dissection. On the Beltway.
And he drove an hour and a half and then waited in the line at the ER. So,
in his Aortic Hope t-shirt.
Yes, in his Aortic Hope dissection survivor t-shirt. Okay? Dad, sometimes you're smart. That wasn't very smart. Anyways. So, ever since then, it's been a little scary going in for the checkups because even though everything can look great, it might not look great 3 hours later. So that's always a little scary. And with my pain, there's always, we always have to figure out where is the pain, what does it feel like. We have to go into very, very specific details because there is the chance of an aortic issue. So the patient side of it is it's extremely stressful when costochondritis pain comes on, and it's different than other times sometimes. And it could be, oh my gosh, is this it? But it's like most of the time it's never been for me. But there is always that fear of it could be an aortic thing.
How do you handle that stuff?
So a lot of the ways that I handle it is just coping skills. Everyone's are different. Mine are support from friends, teachers, parents, any trusted adult, without getting into it too deeply. My faith is very strong, like my faith in God. So that's definitely a big one. That's one of the big things that how I deal with it is, praying, and writing down how I feel. So there's always that. And so
sorry,
so
interruption.
So everyone deals with it differently, but those are my ways. And it's important to know everyone copes differently and everyone relieves stress differently, but you have to understand that you need your ways. Like, it doesn't just happen. Like, it's important to cope the right way. Yeah, the right way. Did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you. Dad wants to know if you wanted him to wear a different shirt.
No, that's not what I meant, Dad. Oh my gosh.
Can you share some of the better questions? And answer from the Marfan conference. Are there any questions that get asked that are like really great questions?
Okay, so a big thing that and me and my friend Allegra and I, she is a freshman in college. Sophomore in college? Oh, one of those. But she actually, her family lives really close by to me. They're like 45 minutes away, and their grandparents are like 10. So one of the things that Allegra and I agree on, and a lot of other people do, but Allegra and I talk about it a lot, is what are other ways to decrease, like lower your pain? Like, what are ways to manage your pain without having to take medicine all the time? Because sometimes you don't just want, oh yeah, here's a new medicine to try. Like, that sucks. I hate that. I don't want to take 8 pills every night, but I have to. So it's one of those things that, like, you might not want to do, but you got to do it. You really do. But if it's just pain and you don't want to take 5 medicines for your pain, a big thing is different stretches. Like, I have one, I can't do it right here because it's a weird angle. But one thing that we talk about at conference a lot is putting your hands out like this, okay? When you're in a door, like in a door frame, stretch as far as you can. Like, try to push it. No one's that strong. No one's going to push a door frame open, okay? So push as hard as you want. So you push, and then you could always, if it's like, and just push like that, push out. If it's, you could also go up and push. You could take your legs, like put your back on one side and take your foot and push it against the other and just push that way. Just make sure you don't strain. A big thing, so that's one of the main things that I get from that workshop. And there's also the main workshops that I go to during conference that I go to every year are the mental health or depression and anxiety workshop for teens, and then there's the pain management workshop. And those are my two favorite ones. And so that's the main one I learned from the pain management. And then the depression and anxiety workshop, I learned a lot about coping skills, and it's pretty much just along the same line. Like, I do take medicine. I personally take medicine for my mental health, but it's not something I want to have to rely on. So learning how to cope, like I said earlier, is very important. So you learn a lot of coping skills and stuff, things along that line. And a big thing that I try to strive for at conference is I mentioned earlier, I do the workshops where I speak, where the parents come in and they ask the kids at the podium like questions about what they've gone through and stuff like that. And when you have Marfan Syndrome, you cannot do any contact sports. So because there's just a lot of risks. There have been a lot of things, especially being in high school, a lot of things that I have wanted to do, sports, stuff like that. Can't do that. But you do learn how to manage it, because I used to be on like my cheer squad for like a youth association, and I remember one of my biggest dreams when I was little was to be just a high school cheerleader. And I remember when I tried to convince my parents one day, it was summer before freshman year, I was like, guess who wants to try out for the cheer team for high school? And they're like, oh, you can't do that. And I just remember being like super sad about it. And it's like, it's heartbreaking when you like have to stop doing something you love, but there's always a loophole. I wanted to be a part of the football team so bad. Not play. Can't play football. I can't throw. But I do manage the football team. So I might not be able to play a sport, but I can still be involved. So, I'm the girl with the waters, and we do like the paperwork, and we pass out uniforms and all that. It's really fun. I love it. So you can always still be involved, even though you're not playing a sport. There's always clubs in there, so you can manage, you can spread Marfan awareness, or aortic awareness. So, it's good. Any other questions? I'm going to check on here. I had aortic dissection in June. I have a lot of side effects from it, but I'm still here. Yes.
You did that last, everyone can hear.
So there's a comment that said, I had an aortic dissection in June of 2012. I have a lot of side effects from it, but I'm still here. Thank God. Like, yes. What else? I'm looking for questions. So if you guys have any other questions, please. Oh, new comment. Thanks for having the courage to share your experience. Spreading awareness is key. It is so inspiring. I have Marfan Syndrome too. I wish I was more cautious about my condition. Maybe then I would not have had a type B dissection. Ooh. Well, it's always good to know your limit. But yeah, know your limits. But one of the things that I do is obviously, like I said earlier, everyone's situation is different. So I might be able to do this, but someone else might not. This year I did not. I started not going to gym. So as opposed to going to my gym class with the whole class, I would actually go to the weight room at my school, and I know my limits. Like, I know what's not okay and what is okay, what I can and cannot do, what I need to stay completely away from, and stuff like that. So it's just really cool because, like, even the coach in there, he's the football coach, so he knows me from managing. He knows all my things, so he's always coming over and checking on me and being like, Grace, are you being careful? And I'm like, yes, Coach Morgan, I'm being careful. And it's just good to know that, know your, what's the word I'm looking for? Know your limits. And also, you might want to tell someone like that you're close with about your condition, if it's Marfan's or not. Talk about, like, be like, look, like, especially if it's a gym teacher or something you're doing physically, let them know so that they can make sure you're doing okay. It's very important. Who follows you in the medical community? Who follows you in the medical community? I'm guessing a cardiologist or a.
What kind of doctors do you have?
Oh, I have a cardiologist, and I have a.
Well, Dr. Dietz, so he is a cardiologist and geneticist, right?
He's the only big doctor. Oh,
your eye doctor.
Well, yeah, and Dr. Sponseller sometimes.
Yep, orthopedist and psychiatrist, psychologist, or licensed therapist. But for her, Marfan is basically the. Sorry, I'm like not in this thing. For her Marfan, it's the team at Hopkins. So there's a genetic counselor, a cardiologist, nurse practitioner, geneticist, a whole team up there. And she gets periodic. Her scoliosis is really minor, like 5%. So it's super minor. So every couple year check with the orthopedist team, and then eye exams.
Yeah, it's a big one. Any other questions? I like answering questions, so please ask me some questions.
Any other questions? You can always send, if you think of another question for Grace, or you want to connect about what she's doing in the Marfan community with Marfan friends, or anytime if you have a child who wants to talk to another teenager about being a caregiver for somebody with aortic disease, or if they have Marfan themselves or have questions, Grace loves to talk.
Yes.
Loves to talk, period, but also really loves to talk to other kids who are dealing with stuff. Yeah. And so you can always reach out to me or reach out to any of us at Aortic Hope, and we will connect you with Grace as she does her thing in the world.
Yep.
With Marfan. So if there's not any more questions, it is 9:20 here on the East Coast. And hi, Veronica.
Hi.
So Grace is all excited because Veronica has joined us. Yes, Veronica, we're calling you out. And the very first Marfan friend.
Hang on, I have to talk about this. Look, I'm wearing my Kira bracelet today. Look at my Kira bracelet. Guys, this is Kira's bracelet. Marfan Strong. And it says Team Kira.
Kira was the first Marfan friend pack that ever came to be. She was 2?
Yeah.
2.5 or so. Anyway, and she's now a big sister, and she has just been a total rock star through a scoliosis surgery and a heart surgery. And she is just a warrior for sure. And hi, Veronica. It is okay. So we just love Veronica and her whole family, and we're super excited about your news.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, one of the best parts about the the Marfan community and the Aortic Hope community is just this, is that we have friends who get it.
Yes.
That when we say, when caregivers, for instance, if I say I'm really tired in all ways, somebody in the Aortic Hope community gets it. In the Marfan community, they get what I'm saying without having to say it. And I don't feel guilty for saying it because we all know it. And I'm thankful that Grace has other teens in the Marfan community to reach out to, and they get it and they understand that kids are mean, and they've been there, and they often have suggestions or even just, you know, that venting session of who cares about those mean kids.
Yes.
And for my friends and Grace's dad, who's a survivor and a patient, it's really nice to have some place to go and ask a question and say, does this make sense? Is this how it's supposed to feel? I need a doctor in this city. I don't know what this means. I know it's really helpful. And I'm just really thankful that we have found it, that when we couldn't find it, we created it.
Yes.
And that we are continuing to grow it, both in the Marfan community and here. So that is my soapbox. But thank you all for coming and listening to Grace and her story.
Should we post the website on the comments or on the
yeah, so I will post Grace's Marfan Friends website. Like she said earlier, to get a friend pack is totally free. It doesn't cost you a dime to do that.
We do accept donations on the website.
Grace's business plan is that she has to raise the money for the friend packs, and I pay for all shipping. So that is how it happens. So you don't need to pay for a friend pack if you have a teen or child who wants to receive one. If you're so called and feel like donating, then Grace welcomes all of those donations and will be forever grateful. Otherwise, lots of babysitting ahead for her. But it's a great thing that she does, and kind of inspired us to create Hope Mail. For those of you who receive Hope Mail from Aortic Hope, that was kind of the same idea. So we kind of stole Grace's idea and made it our own. So I guess Grace is the originator of Hope Mail, huh?
Yeah.
So I will post that. We will hopefully see all of you at the symposium that is April 4th in Baltimore. The link is on Aortic Hope's page. It is in conjunction with John Ritter Foundation. So hope to see you all there, both for the symposium and our fun comedy night, because we're allowed to have some fun while we're learning. And again, any questions, send a message through Aortic Hope, or if we're friends on Facebook, send me a message directly. Hi, Mandy, thanks for coming. Hold on, Betsy wants to know, can you tell us how Aortic Hope came to be and by who? Sure, Betsy. Can I sit on that chair? I'm getting old and I can't kneel on my hardwood floor, so I'm kicking the young one out of the chair. How did Aortic Hope come to be? Myself and Karen Anderson and Meg Greenlee were Facebook friends in aortic dissection support group on Facebook, and we randomly started talking about the need for a community that was in the aortic space that was really just all about support. It wasn't so much about medical research. It wasn't about reading medical reports of each other. It was purely about being there to support each other and say, we get it, we know it, celebrate together, cry together, and really be patient advocates. And so we couldn't find what we were looking for. And so we created it. We, the three of us, came up with this vision of a community that helps survivors through their recovery, not just their physical recovery, but the mental health side of it. help those who live with aortic disease every day manage and deal with that reality. And then the caregivers to have a space to openly talk about what it's like to care for somebody in that situation. And so Meg's story is one of a aneurysm clot before it dissected, and she was able to have an urgent surgery to prevent a dissection. Karen had a very emergent surgery that was life-threatening the entire time, and we're blessed that she came through that. And my story is that of the caregiver, both as a wife of a patient going through dissections and a mother of a child who very well could have a dissection.
Hi, Mrs. Robbins.
Hi, Julie. So it came to be as a Facebook group, and in 2018, we actually became a 501c3 and are a nonprofit charity organization according to the IRS. And so when we say every donation goes directly to programs, it is true. Every donation goes directly to programs. We are a volunteer board now made up of Karen, myself, Betsy, Fifi, Greg, and Bill. You see us all posting and commenting. And we do this between our full-time jobs, our parenting, and our healthcare management. Hi, Tammy. It's nice to meet you, too. I feel like I know you, but only on here. Veronica, yes, I will post Grace's Marfan friend donation list. Any other questions for me or Grace?
I get to wrap up, Mom.
Oh, she's going to wrap up because I'm sure that there's homework to be done. There's always homework to be done in high school. All right. Thank you all. Here's Grace one last time.
Let's hope I don't fall off this chair. Okay, we're good. We're good. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to come on again and say thank you for joining. My mom will post the link to the website. You'll see that the donation and the link to get the donation link and the SurveyMonkey link to send a package is on the right side of the page, the home page. So feel free to look at that. It has my full story. It has the donation, the survey. It has what Marfan Syndrome is, what the foundation is, ways you can help, things along those lines. Also, Marfan Friends does have an Instagram account. It's Marfan Friends Official, like Marfan's Friends Official. So follow that. And you can follow me as well, and I do a lot of posts on my personal account. So thank you all for joining, and I hope you all have a great night. Bye. Can I end it, Mom?
Yep.
Okay.